It was just after midnight, June 1st, 2009. 228 people were flying over the Atlantic Ocean. Most were asleep. Cabin lights dimmed. Engines humming steadily. Air France Flight 447 was halfway between Rio and Paris. The Airbus A330 was modern, reliable. The crew was experienced. This was a routine overnight flight. But ahead, in the darkness, a storm was waiting. Weather radar showed towering thunderstorms. Nothing unusual for an Atlantic crossing. The captain stepped away for his scheduled rest. 2 co-pilots remained in the cockpit. At 38,000 feet, they entered cloud. Then something small, almost insignificant happened. Ice crystals formed inside the pitot tubes, the tiny sensors that measure airspeed. Within seconds, the airspeed readings became unreliable. And then, autopilot disconnected. A soft warning tone. In the dark sky, with no visible horizon, the aircraft was now fully manual. "I have control." The younger pilot took the stick. The instruments were behaving strangely. Speed numbers flickered, then vanished. Outside, total darkness. No moon, no stars, no reference. Inside, confusion. The aircraft was still flying normally, but without clear speed data. The pilots had to rely on instinct. An instinct at high altitude can betray you. The nose lifted slightly, then a little more. The aircraft began losing speed. A warning sounded. Stall. A sharp, repetitive alarm. But then it stopped. The system considered the data unreliable, so it silenced itself. The nose continued rising. The aircraft was now in a deep aerodynamic stall. Here's what makes this terrifying. They didn't realize it. The plane was pointed upward, but it was falling, descending at thousands of feet per minute. The stall warning returned, then disappeared again. For over 3 minutes, this cycle continued. No one said the words, "We are stalling," and no one pushed the nose down. The final moments. The captain rushed back into the cockpit. He had been asleep for less than an hour. What's happening? There was no clear answer. Voices overlapped. Altitude dropping. Confusion growing. In the cabin, passengers may have felt mild turbulence, a strange sinking sensation. But there was no explosion, no dramatic spiral. Just a stalled aircraft descending through darkness. At 2:14 a.m., one pilot said quietly, "We're going to crash." Moments later, the ocean. The Airbus struck the Atlantic belly first at high speed. All 228 people on board were lost. For nearly 2 years, the aircraft's recorders lay 13,000 feet underwater. In 2011, search teams finally recovered the black boxes. When investigators listened, they didn't hear panic. They heard confusion. The engines were working. The aircraft was structurally intact. Nothing catastrophic had failed, except understanding. The pilots never recognized the stall. They were fighting the wrong problem. Flight 447 changed aviation forever. High-altitude stall training became mandatory worldwide. Pitot tube designs were improved. Automation philosophy was reconsidered. Because investigators learned something unsettling. When technology suddenly steps away, humans can become disoriented. Not because they lack skill, but because perception under stress and darkness can fracture. Over the Atlantic that night, the aircraft was flyable, but confusion became the invisible enemy. And in aviation, 3 minutes is all it takes.